You're half asleep when you hear it, scratching inside the wall, faint but relentless. By morning, a cereal box is chewed open. Droppings line the counter, and there's a smell that wasn't there last week. You don't know if it's one mouse or 20. What ends this costs $1, and the answer has nothing to do with poison. First, you need to understand what's already multiplying behind those walls. You lie there, waiting for it to stop, but the scratching keeps going. Somewhere behind the drywall, too faint to track, too real to ignore. By morning, your kitchen tells its own story. A cereal box corner torn open, a trail of droppings behind the toaster, a wire chewed just enough to spark worry. You notice a new smell, sharp and sour, that clings to the air when the house is quiet. The evidence piles up before you ever see the culprit. You start to wonder if it's just one mouse, bold and reckless, or if you're actually surrounded by a hidden crowd. That's the part that keeps you up, the not knowing. You check under the sink, behind the fridge, searching for a single answer in a dozen possible hiding spots. Each sign you find only raises more questions. The worst part is how quickly the problem multiplies while you're still guessing. The fix, though, is so cheap it feels like a dare, about $1, and it doesn't depend on luck, poison, or a contract. But before you can solve it, you have to face just how many are already inside. And that number isn't what you think. You spot a mouse dart across the floor and tell yourself it's just one, maybe two if you're unlucky. But the mouse you hear tonight could already be a grandmother, hidden out of sight while her pups scatter through your walls. A single female can have a litter every 3 weeks, and those pups start breeding themselves in as little as 6 weeks. That means the scratching that started as a faint annoyance quickly becomes a full-blown invasion. By the time you catch a glimpse of a second mouse, you're likely surrounded by a dozen more you'll never see until they make their own mess. Snap traps can't keep up. For every one you catch, 2 more are born. And the numbers don't slow down for your schedule or your patience. What starts as one restless night can spiral into 4 weeks of chewed wires, ruined food, and that constant creeping sense that your home is slipping out of your control. The real problem isn't the mouse you see. It's the multiplication happening just beyond the edge of your flashlight. And if you wait, you're not just chasing mice, you're chasing math. You've already paid for the service visit, the refill, the next round of bait. Each month, someone swaps out a little block in a plastic box and promises you're protected. But the scratching returns, and so does the bill. In California, they had to restrict the same poison because owls and hawks kept dying after eating poisoned mice. Your problem just moves up the food chain. If the fix actually worked, there'd be no reason for anyone to come back next month. The answer you've been sold isn't built to leave you alone. But the real solution isn't about hunting for a deadlier chemical at all. It's about one thing a mouse's body can never do. And that's the only way you end this for good. So what is it? You might picture a mouse as clever, quick, maybe even cautious, but your real advantage is something it can never change. A mouse cannot vomit. Not once, not ever. This isn't about nerves or smarts or willpower. It's hardwired into its body. A biological lock that no amount of fear or instinct can pick. The muscle at the bottom of its throat, the lower esophageal barrier, clamps down like a one-way gate. Food, bait, anything that goes down stays down. There's no reverse gear. The shape of its stomach, the way its diaphragm is built, even the circuits in its brainstem, all of it says the same thing. Nothing comes back up. This isn't just one unlucky mouse, or the bold one that took the bait while the rest watched. Every mouse in your walls, every single one, is built the same way. Once they swallow something, that's the end of the line. No matter how many times you've tried and failed before, this is the fact that tips the balance in your favor. And now, You know the one thing their bodies can never undo. You know plaster of Paris from the broken arm years, a powder that turns to stone when it gets wet, locking into place with the kind of finality you can feel if you ever wore a cast. That same trick is what makes it deadly in the world behind your walls. When a mouse nibbles a mix of plain oats and plaster, it's not biting into some strange chemical. It smells like the pantry, not the hardware store. That's the bait secret. The oats pull every mouse that's ever chewed through your cereal box or raided your birdseed. But once that soft, familiar mouthful hits the moisture of a mouse's stomach, the plaster sets hard. There's no way out, no vomit, no second chance. Nothing but a one-way trip. You're not poisoning the mouse. You're giving it a problem its body was never built to solve. The whole problem was never about finding a stronger poison. It was always about this. A mouse can never bring back up what it swallows, and that's the crack in its armor you finally get to use. Tonight, you open your pantry and grab two things: dry plaster of Paris and plain rolled oats. No water, no milk, nothing fancy, just equal parts measured out and kept bone dry until the last second. You mix them together in a small bowl, feeling the powder and oats blend into something that looks harmless, almost like breakfast. That's the bait. You don't scatter it near where you hope the mice might wander. You set the dish right on the trail where you've already found droppings, under the sink, behind the fridge, along the garage wall where you know they run every night. You place it so a mouse can't miss it, not a step to the left or right. Next to it, you set a shallow dish of plain water. Not because you're being kind and so, but because you want the mouse thirsty. Water speeds up what happens next in sudden. Now you wait. If the bait is untouched after 2 nights, you don't blame the mix. You move the dish directly onto the freshest trail. Sometimes just an inch or two makes the difference. By the 3rd or 4th night, you start to notice fewer droppings, less fresh chewing, and at some point, the scratching that kept you awake just stops. You might never find a mouse out in the open. When they get sick, they crawl back to the place they felt safest. That's how you know it's working. The silence is your answer. The dish you set out tonight only handles what's already scurrying behind your walls. Tomorrow, your job is to stop the next wave from ever getting in. You start at the baseboards and the foundation, looking for any crack or hole as wide as a pencil, just enough for a mouse to squeeze through and vanish. Every gap gets packed tight with steel wool, because those metal fibers shred against teeth that can chew through wood, plastic, even brick, but never steel. You lock up the pet food and birdseed because nothing ruins your effort faster than a midnight snack waiting in an open bin. Only once you've closed every easy door does the scratching really quit for good. If you want a non-lethal route, you can use a live, catch, and release trap, but it only catches one mouse at a time while the rest keep multiplying. And any mouse you let go faces its own fight to survive in a place it's never known. $1's worth of plaster and oats does what a monthly contract never finishes. It ends the cycle and lets you sleep. You're not left with a bill or a service call, and you don't have to wonder what your cat or the owl in your yard might pick up next. Nothing toxic moves up the food chain, and nothing dangerous lingers in your kitchen. You're not hoping for a stronger poison, just using the one thing a mouse's body can never undo. The real fix was never a trick. It's just knowing the limit built into every mouse and working with it, not against it. Tonight, you finally sleep without that scratching behind your walls. While pest control contracts keep billing, your dollar did what they couldn't, ended the siege for good. Relief is yours, and peace returns to your home. Watch what's next on screen and subscribe for more. Have you tried this? Did it work? What's your story?